Aggies.
Merrill for the lead. He's got it!
The Jazz.
Stopped him. Open three. Yeah!
The high schools.
Bossel's going to take it on the quarterback draw. He's to the 30, the 25, makes the move to the 20, 15, 10, 5. He's into the end zone.
If it's the sport you care about, we're talking about it.
Number 4 of my best non-sports sports. Wife carrying.
It's the Full Court Press with Eric Franson. 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome on in to another edition of the Full Court Press. Eric Franson with you here on a Tuesday. Thanks for joining us, being along for the ride. Love to hear from you today on our text line. Full Court Press text line is open for business. Would love to hear from you on our various topics, agree or disagree. 435-339-0321 if you want to chime in. A couple different things we'll be talking about today. Candidates for the Utah Jazz to replace Quin Snyder, now that it's official that he is definitively not coming back. And some of the candidates on this list seem more plausible than others, but we've seen before where teams' top targets that doesn't seem to work out for various reasons. So who's on the list and who makes more sense for the Utah Jazz to chase after? And what do we know about who these guys are and who these candidates are to replace Quin? And so we'll be talking a little bit about that. Former Aggie in the news, Jaycee Carroll officially retiring from Real Madrid. Now, we've spoken to Jaycee on this program a couple of times in the last year, but he had an open invitation to return to be with Real Madrid one more year, but he moved his family back to Cache Valley, and he made it official this past weekend. The Real Madrid, or the Whites, as it's often referred, are in the playoffs right now, and before Game 2 in their series over the weekend against Bitsi Baskonia, part of the pregame was to bring Jaycee out onto the court and to celebrate his many years with Real Madrid, and to give him a ceremonial shirt and give him a chance to say goodbye to the team and to the fans. And really, really cool moment. And you'll hear from Jaycee, and he spoke in Spanish to a Spanish crowd. But thankfully, I've got some great Spanish speakers here in the building who could translate what he said so that I can make sense of it. So we'll have the translation for you, what he said. And then a look back on his career, some of the accomplishments while he was playing professionally overseas. And really, really outstanding career for Jaycee Carroll, playing internationally at the highest level outside of the NBA. So a snapshot and a reflection back on his season that was. And then you heard a few other things there at the top of the news, there at the top of the hour, that we'll get into with just the absurdity in Cleveland and what's going on there with Deshaun Watson, as more information is being revealed, and just how bad is Cleveland that they took a chance on this guy, even though they knew that there was a dark cloud and it just got darker and more depressing. So more details there. And then what's going on with the Angels. I mean, it was an exciting start to the season for them, and they've been in a real slide and a real slump. And to change it, they fired their manager and let go of Joe Maddon. So what are the implications there, and what are the current standings throughout Major League Baseball in light of today's events? But first things first, Jaycee Carroll this past weekend made an appearance, and it was a pregame. You heard yesterday we played the PA announcement of what he had to say, but this is what he actually said when he addressed the crowd. So bear with us for the next 2 minutes as Jaycee speaks in Spanish. And coming up on the other side, I will give you the translation of what he said. But for those of you who speak Spanish, I wanted to make sure you could hear it from his own mouth and the emotion and the crowd reaction to Jaycee Carroll. This was before a playoff game this past weekend.
Muy bien, pues yo estaba bien hasta ver todos los buenos recuerdos, todos los años. He querido volver. He querido volver para decir algunas cosas por muchos meses, pero principalmente quería decir gracias a todos. Gracias al Real Madrid, a ese club, por darme la oportunidad de vivir mis sueños. Una década aquí que no podría haber imaginado algo mejor que esto. Muchísimas gracias al club, al presidente. Yo tuve la suerte de estar aquí con algunos buenos amigos y compañeros por una década, gracias a Pablo, por jugar jugadas para que yo pudiera salir para tirar de tres. Gracias a los grandes por los bloqueos que me pusieron todos los años y los mejores bases del mundo que me pasaron el balón para tirar. Y por supuesto, a mi familia, a mi mujer, a los niños. Si no fueran por ellos, no podrían haber estado aquí en Madrid y España por tantos años. He hecho mucho de menos el jamón ibérico y la comida aquí en España. Pero muchas gracias de todo corazón. Muchas gracias. Estoy eternamente agradecido por el tiempo que estuve aquí. Muchas gracias. Los quiero mucho.
Yeah, Jaycee Carroll getting a standing ovation there at the arena. And I'm not going to go word for word for what he just said, but to paraphrase and go to a few things that he said, a lot of thank yous to the crowd, to the team, to the program, to the franchise for giving him an opportunity to live his dreams. He spent 10 years with Real Madrid. He thanked the club, the president, his friends, his teammates, the coach, and specifically, he said, "I want to thank Pablo Lasso, who drew up plays so I could shoot threes." He also thanked the centers for their blocks, the guards that passed him the ball so he could shoot. And then he also gave credit to his family. His wife was there, and his daughter was there on center court with him. And he said if it wasn't for them, he wouldn't have been able to make it in Madrid and in Spain for all those years. And then you may have heard him laugh and some of the chuckles there on the broadcast. He said, "I missed the jamón ibérico." I guess that's Iberian ham. He misses a lot of the food there in Spain. But then more thanks from the heart, and eternally grateful for the time that he spent there. And you could hear the crowd there. If you see the video, it's awesome as they react, and they're on their feet the whole time that he is speaking. When he was brought out onto center court, they showed a video of some of his highlights during his career with Real Madrid. And the whole team came out on the center court with him. He was presented with a ceremonial shirt and a replica jersey. And really cool moment for Jaycee Carroll. And doing some reading on it this past earlier today, his picture was still prominently featured on their website as a member of their club until just recently. Even though he had pretty much returned to the States and moved his family here, they still had an open invitation to him to come back. In April, he turned 39. But this is a guy who still competed at a very high level. Again, I can't stress this enough. This is the highest basketball in the world outside of the NBA. And Jaycee Carroll consistently competed at a high level in this league. And just last year, he was still averaging 11 points a game in league play. He was averaging almost 10 points a game in EuroLeague play. So he was still playing at a high level. His averages were pretty consistent with what he had done in the several years previous. So he was still competing at a very, very high level for Real Madrid. Now, a couple of things here on JC. Looking at some of the numbers and how significant he is and why he was so impactful there and why that crowd was so responsive to him and why they decided to make such a special deal for what he did and his in announcing his retirement of the people that were there and how the crowd responded. He played 709 games for Real Madrid. That is the most by any foreign player and third most overall. So his run with Real Madrid was historic. And as I mentioned, they gave him a shirt that a commemorative shirt that had his jersey number, the number 20, but it also had 709 on it to symbolize his 709 games with their franchise. A couple other things with Jaycee Carroll. In his time there with Real Madrid, 20 titles. Now, the EuroLeague, it's different than it is in the NBA. You have a lot of different leagues in Europe. You've got some that are confined to the country that you're in, some that are at other levels, and those top teams can compete and participate in a lot of different leagues. If you play well, you can kind of move up and compete against other high-level teams. So it's different. It's not like you have one big league and that's it. There are multiple leagues throughout Europe, and so the best teams will compete in different leagues or tournaments with teams that aren't normally in their regular league. So during that 10-year span that Jaycee Carroll was with Real Madrid, they won 20 titles. So 2 EuroLeague Cups, and that's the highest level. And that means their team was the best in all of Europe at the highest level. They won 1 Intercontinental Cup, 5 Spanish ACB championships, 6 Copa del Rey trophies, and 6 Spanish Super Cups. So they won at a lot of levels. And reading some of the stuff from over there, people who follow Real Madrid, they said really it was a golden era of Real Madrid while Jaycee Carroll was there with Pablo Lasso, the coach, and a few other key players. But absolutely, Jaycee Carroll was part of that, made some really big shots at key times for them. Was just a regular standard player that was always part of their success. But a couple other things about Jaycee Carroll's time in Europe. He, as I mentioned, he played 10 years there. He arrived in 2011, 2012 with Real Madrid. Played the most games with Real Madrid as a foreigner, but he was also the foreigner to have played the most games with the same team in the EuroLeague. That's 274. He led the league in free throw percentage in 2018 and 19 with 96%. Insane. And this is a guy who he left Utah State, went undrafted in the NBA, signed on with a kind of a smaller team in Italy, Bancatercas Teramo, and I don't even know if I pronounced that properly, but that was 2008 to 2009, and played 1 year for them, had a solid season, averaged 16 points per game, a little over 2 3-pointers per game, 83% at the free throw line, and 1.5 steals per game. So he was definitely a solid player. Gran Canaria, he has an opportunity to move up a little bit to a little bit higher level. plays for Gran Canaria for a couple of seasons. Again, plays really well, averages 15 points a game in their time in the Euro Cup, 19 points per game in league play. And did that for the 2009-2010 season, also with the 10 and 11 season. So it was a really solid player for Gran Canaria. Real Madrid sees what he's doing. They sign a deal with him, and he moves up again and to the highest level with Real Madrid and stays there and continues to compete at a very high level. He had a year and a couple times where he was free throw percentages above 90%, multiple occasions, multiple seasons. As recently as his time in the Euro League in 2020 and 2021, his free throw percentage was 94%, 93.8% when he was in league play. So, I mean, guy was amazing to be able to continue to compete at a very high level, stay in shape, stay relevant, and help his team win at a very, very high level. So congratulations and kudos to Jaycee Carroll, inducted into the Utah State Athletics Hall of Fame here not that long ago. We really had a lot of fun talking to him when we were on location out of Guild Mortgage just a few months ago. And, I mean, the dude looks like he could still jump in a gym and ball with a lot of guys at a very high level. But it's still he averaged about 16 minutes a game for the last couple of years. And, so really cool to see what he's able to do. Just looking over his career stats and his career accomplishments, very cool that he had that honor and recognition this past weekend to receive that standing ovation from the crowd, to have his family there, and to have the team come out and to support him the way they did. Really cool moment for Jaycee Carroll, and certainly the most professionally decorated Aggie, I don't know, maybe ever. Certainly he's got to be up there. It certainly didn't win or participate in the NBA, but when you look at professional hoops in general, probably be hard-pressed to find somebody who had more accomplishments professionally than Jaycee Carroll. If you've got anybody else who you think may have had a bigger resume or more accomplished resume in professional basketball than Jaycee Carroll, I'd like to see that. So anyway, congratulations on a great career in Madrid, and I'm sure you'll be seeing Jaycee Carroll around. He's been at some Utah State basketball games here recently, and I'm sure you'll be seeing him more as he's got a beautiful place here in Cache Valley and raising his family here. But certainly worth mentioning and giving him his due for his accomplishments professionally and getting that recognition in front of his peers and in front of the fans. As well. Right before they're in the playoffs, and they won their game easily that night, but that served as a good mojo before their game tipped off. 9315 on our Full Court Press text line saying, I was lucky enough to talk to him when he was the guest speaker for our high school senior graduation. Oh, what an amazing guy. Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool. Was that recently? Because I know he's been around. I don't know if he was here in time for some of the high school graduations taking place this year, but you may be seeing more of Jaycee Carroll. And really cool dude. Very approachable. He's been really a friend to the program and letting us talk to him. And wanted to make sure we gave some credit to what he's been able to accomplish and the recognition that he received this year. 9315, yes, this year. Thank you. So that must have been, he must have done that right before he took off to go over there for that ceremony. So that's very cool that he would take the time to do that. All right, a quick timeout here on the Full Court Press. When we come back, Quin Snyder is gone, and so the Utah Jazz need a new head coach. Who are the candidates? What's their background? Who makes the most sense? And based on who gets hired, what does that tell you about the direction of the program and the roster as it's currently constituted? So we'll discuss that and look at the options. Coming up next, love to get your thoughts on who you'd like to see as the next head coach of the Utah Jazz. 435-339-0321 here on the Full Court Press.
You lead a busy life. When do you have time to get your vehicle serviced? Valvoline Instant Oil Change in Logan can help. They're now open on Sundays to better serve you. If life is too hectic during the weekdays and Saturday is crazy like normal, go see them on Sunday. Get your oil changed and they'll also check other fluids and recharge your AC. Stay in your car while their trained pros service your vehicle. Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Open 7 days a week across from Angie's.
Ladies, do you have your men's ring yet? We know that he got you the perfect ring, so let's get him one that will show how much you care, such as a one-of-a-kind Damascus steel, his choice of camo, or an exquisite redwood inlay. And if you really want something out of this world, come check out our meteorite rings. For the largest selection of unique men's rings, make it special, make it Jarek's at 930 North Main in Logan.
Jarek's Fine Jewelry. Make it special, make it Jarek's.
Don't get caught without power to your home or business. This is Tyler with Golden Spike Electric. We offer Generac backup generators to keep your home or business warm, avoiding frozen pipes, loss of valuable food, or even a flooded basement. Golden Spike Electric is certified and factory trained, so you know it will be installed right and properly maintained. Contact Golden Spike Electric so you'll never be without power again. Online at gsegenerators.com. We also service other brands. Golden Spike Electric and Generac. Power you can count on.
Elements has delicious lunch specials, 2 for $30, or the new soup, salad, and bread special for just $10. It's tasty and quick. Elements lunch menu is full of scrumptious items prepared with a personal touch. Wood-fired pizzas are an excellent choice that include barbecue chicken and the bee's knees. The fresh battered halibut fish and chips with seasoned fries is always a hit. And don't forget the fan favorite Munster burger, casual or professional. Open Monday through Thursday, 11:30 to 8 p.m. and Friday and Saturday, 11:30 to 9 p.m. Visit the elementsrestaurant.com for reservations today.
Hi, this is Bob Larson with LSS Insurance. If you're about to turn 65, you have been bombarded with so much mail and pestering phone calls. Ditch the junk. We make Medicare easy. We will answer your questions and get you the information you need. We are your health insurance specialists. Call 752-9493. Having local help makes all the difference, and there's no cost to you. We're here for you now and in the years to come. Call 752-9493 or visit lssins.com.
There's nothing like hearing the songs you love on local radio with no subscriptions and no monthly fees. But there's a new bill in Congress that could stop the music. If passed, this bill would tax your local radio station simply to play the music you love. Text LOCAL to 52886 and ask Congress to support local radio stations. Help us keep you connected to the music, local news, weather, and traffic that you need each day. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
This is The Herd.
The winner in this is also
Colin Cowherd.
You can't just bail on the draft and develop part of the game. And the Lakers, the last guy they developed was Kobe. I understood bringing LeBron here. But just because the Warriors brought in KD, it didn't mean they lost sort of their DNA on draft and develop.
This is The Herd.
Weekdays from 10 to 1 on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan, Northern Utah and Southern Idaho's home for sports. It's the Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
The weather is warmer today, and it's even going to get warmer through the weekend, and that can be brutal on your vehicle. So take it into Valvoline Instant Oil Change across from Angie's. They'll get it back on the road fast. They've got that Valvoline Synthetic and Valvoline Max Life Oil. They're located at 695 North Main in Logan. The Utah Jazz looking for a next head coach. Who would you like to see at the on the sidelines there in charge of the Utah Jazz, as it's kind of an open book right now? Yes, there have been some other teams looking for coaches and hiring them. The Jazz missed out on potential hires. Maybe. I don't know that the guys that they would be pursuing are guys who ultimately landed somewhere else. I don't know, but it's a little bit later, so there's a little bit of a disadvantage compared to having a wide open field of options. The Lakers, the Hornets, those are notable teams that the Kings. So there've been a couple of franchises already replaced their coaches, and I've already gone through some of the order of guys that are available. But what about for the Utah Jazz? Now, for Utah, it's pretty clear that it needs to be somebody who can develop talent, because that's just where the Utah Jazz are. They're not in a place that attracts high-level free agents. They attract good free agents, but do they attract high-level free agents? It's a franchise that we've seen for decades. Its best talent is the talent that it develops on its own and supports with others in various positions. So, I think that has to be high on the list for who the Jazz look to. It'd be at least my thoughts on that, but I don't know. I'd love to hear yours on our Full Court Press text line, 435-339-0321, 5860, chiming in. Over the Jazz history, how many times have they hired a proven head coach? Great question. This is a franchise that's only had 3 coaches in 36 years? So they don't hire many coaches. They don't go through that process very often. Quinn wasn't a proven head coach, not at the NBA level. Jerry Sloan was an assistant. Ty Corbin was an assistant. Frank Layden, was he a proven head coach before he got hired? I don't think he was. So it's a good point. They don't really have that track record. So does that potentially disqualify somebody who is a proven head coach? I don't think it necessarily disqualifies them. I think it just seems to illustrate that that's kind of been their history, is that they haven't always gone with those type of coaches. But here's some of those that are out there. And there's even, it's crazy. People in Las Vegas love to create things for people to bet their money on. And it's ludicrous how many different things they come up with. And one of them already, you can place money. You can spend your money right now on betting on who you think the next head coach for the Utah Jazz is going to be. So based on what the odds makers have put together and some of the other candidates that may be potentially out there, we can kind of get our own idea of who we think might be available and who makes more sense for the Jazz. But here's some of the names that were floated right away. There's been a few names added since Sunday, but one that keeps coming up and is quite intriguing is Johnny Bryant. Now, he was he finished his basketball career at the University of Utah. Shortly thereafter, he joined the Utah Jazz as an assistant. Was really in charge of player development, especially for guards. Not too long ago, left Utah to go to New York. New York kind of poached the Jazz for a couple of positions. They poached Johnny Bryant, and they also poached Walt Perrin, because they saw that the Jazz were a solid organization at finding and developing talent. And the New York Knicks were not that great at finding and developing talent. And so they were trying to get some help that way. But Johnny Bryant could come back. Now, he's been in the league for quite some time. And certainly his ties to Donovan Mitchell are high there, because he's considered to be highly respected by Donovan Mitchell. But besides just his connection to Donovan, here's a guy that's really well known for his player development, and is considered a bit of a guru with X's and O's for offense. But he doesn't have that head coach experience. So how much of that is really important or not? But here's a guy who's coached under Quinn. He coached under Tom Thibodeau. So he's been able to leave the Utah system a little bit, see how the world is. Maybe it's time for him to come back. But he is actually the odds-on favorite right now to replace Quin Snyder. The next one on the list who is pretty high as his probability to be the next head coach is Terry Stotts. Now, this is a guy who was with the Portland Trailblazers for a long time, from 2012 to 2021. He previously was a head coach in Milwaukee. He had head coaching experience in Atlanta. This is a guy who has head coaching experience, but who also has taken a team to the Western Conference Finals. That's something Quin Snyder was never able to do. Certainly known more for his offense, not so much for his defense. He was able to coach a dynamic guard and get him to play at a very high level with Damian Lillard, and is known to be somebody who is big on relationships and develops those big relationships. But he, generally well liked by the players that he's been a part of. The other thing too that's interesting about Terry Stotts, he was out of work for a year, but he wasn't sitting idly by. One of the things that he did is he actually came to Utah, spent time with the Jazz organization, and as an observer, spent time with Quin Snyder, spent a lot of time with the organization. So they've gotten to know him a little bit, and it wasn't really that long ago. So odds are pretty good for Terry Stotts as a potential candidate. Don't know that I totally love that. But it is an option. 37 before we continue, 3714 reminds me that I was a little off, and I appreciate the correction. Jerry Sloan spent 3 seasons as a Bulls head coach. Yes, that was 1979 to 1982. It wasn't as successful a term as were his years as the Jazz head coach, but at least he had that experience. For that reason, Alex Jensen should be on the list. I think he's been a head coach in the developmental league. That's a really good question with Alex Jensen. He was the G League Coach of the Year with the Canton Charge. That was back in 2013. He has had a few times where he has subbed in and was the head coach, interim head coach when Quinn was out with COVID or a few other little things that he missed games. Quinn didn't miss very many games, but Alex Jensen really his second in command. University of Utah star and has been an assistant coach for a while. He started with Ty Corbin. He stuck on with the group when Quin Snyder came and has been with Quinn the entire time. And started out deep on the coaching bench and eventually moved his way up to his second in command. Alex Jensen was a guy who University of Utah really made a push to have him be their next head coach, and Quinn really made it a plea with the Utah Jazz to keep him. And I think that speaks volumes to how important he felt like Alex Jensen was to his club and to his organization and the team's future. So I think that really speaks volumes to Alex Jensen, but he's actually a little bit further on the list. And we look at the odds, he's number 4 on the odds makers. What's kind of funny to me, the guy who's number 3 on the odds makers, what they're saying, Frank Vogel. But that's not, he doesn't show up on any list from those beat writers who follow the Jazz closely and have had close ties with the Jazz and got the initial reaction as to who their next head coach could be. So that one seems a little bit surprising. But, certainly here's another guy who had head coaching experience, won an NBA title with the Lakers, coached with the Orlando Magic and Indiana Pacers before that, took the Pacers to the Eastern Conference Finals, And so he's got some coaching pedigree. He has some coaching experience, and has played in conference finals multiple times. That's something that Alex Jensen never did, and Johnny Bryant never did. Terry Stotts did it once, but Frank Vogel could be an interesting candidate on the list. But he's also a guy that I don't know, seems to start out well but doesn't finish well. And I wonder about the tenure, how long that tenure would be with the Utah Jazz if Frank Vogel was the next guy. 5338 on our Full Court Press text line. Nobody was better at developing players than Stu Morrill. I nominate Stu Morrill for next Jazz coach. Wouldn't that be fun? Stu could develop players. He definitely had a system, and if you fit into that system, then you would flourish. But if you didn't fit in, then that could be a little bit more of a challenge. But I love the thought. I love the thought about Stu Morrill. One more about Alex Jensen. I think that if just like Johnny Bryant or maybe even Terry Stotts is a nod more towards Donovan Mitchell, I think Alex Jensen might be a little bit more of a nod toward Rudy Gobert. He has a really close relationship with him, and he works with the big men. Not to say that he doesn't have a relationship with the other guys, but I think that Johnny Bryant had a close relationship with Donovan Mitchell and vice versa. And I think it's pretty clear that Alex Jensen has a close relationship with Rudy Gobert. Not to say that Donovan Mitchell wouldn't respect him or wouldn't work with him, or Rudy Gobert to Johnny Bryant, but that may signal the direction of the franchise if he is one that is ultimately selected. So something to watch for there. A couple more candidates and their backgrounds. We'll get into that coming up next right here on the Full Court Press, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. Love to get your thoughts, your reactions to some of these candidates that we're looking at who could replace Quin Snyder to be the next head coach of the Utah Jazz. And on our Full Court Press text line, 435-339-0321. More of your comments coming up next on the Full Court Press.
This is Ryan, My Mattress. I have a little bit of a bone to pick with online bed-in-a-box mattresses. If value is the combination of price and quality, these beds are not a good value. They cost about $1,000 and they last about 3 years. That's not a very good ratio. At My Mattress, you can get a $799 Sealy Posturepedic that will last you 10 plus years. The best value is at My Mattress. Isn't it time to sleep exceptionally?
Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent with Alpine Home Medical. I'd like to invite you to learn more about us. Since 1997, we've been Utah's premier one-stop shop for home medical equipment. What sets us apart at Alpine Home Medical is the superior level of customer service. We provide home oxygen, CPAPs, wheelchairs, scooters, breast pumps, and so much more. Come on down and get to know us.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
Visit alpinehomemedical.com.
Okay, we got some weird engineering stuff going on here in studio. So coming out cold out of a break, which wasn't an entire break. So sorry about that. But before we get back into our discussion, we'll talk about Mountain West Motor, Logan's newest truck and SUV dealership located at 615 North Main. Great selection of trucks and SUVs, specially customized for your next adventure. So whether that's hauling trailers, hauling kids, roaming the mountains, or whatever it might be, go check out the inventory right now. They've got a unique selection of vehicles at Mountain West Motor at 615 North Main in Logan, or check them out online, mwmotor.com. Going back to our Full Court Press text line, 5338, with Ryan Smith and Danny Strange in control, I fear the new coach may have some connection to BUY. Yeah, I don't know what that connection would be. I mean, you got two Utes as strong candidates to be the next head coach, and I don't see any other connections to BYU as a potential coach, at least in the mix that's being discussed. Going back to the list of other coaches that are being talked about as potential candidates, Mike D'Antoni is one that's thrown out there. There are some odds makers. There are some odds on Mike D'Antoni being the guy. I wouldn't really put a lot of money on that. He's actually meeting with the Hornets to be part of that staff. But head coaching experience with the Nuggets, the Suns, the Knicks, the Lakers, the Rockets. I don't think that's going to be legitimate. Charles Lee, currently an assistant for the Milwaukee Bucks, and spent time in Atlanta under Mike Budenholzer. He's only 37 years old, played internationally before starting his coaching career at Bucknell, and he's well regarded as a young assistant. He interviewed for the Lakers job before that ultimately went to one of his other assistants that was on that staff, Darvin Ham. But he's been a candidate for New Orleans. He's been a candidate for the Wizards before in this last season. And so could be interesting to see, where he is in the mix, known to be a real power positivity kind of guy, apparently, and a motivational guy. But one that is probably more intriguing to me than some of these others, I don't know if it's at the same level as Alex Jensen, Johnny Bryant, and Terry Stotts, but somebody else to keep an eye on is Adrian Griffin. Now, he's currently an assistant for the Toronto Raptors. He played in the NBA for about 10 years for the Celtics, Mavericks, Rockets, Bulls, Sonics. Remember the Sonics? And he's interviewed at a couple different places. In fact, he interviewed with the Jazz back in 2014. He was an assistant for the Bulls at that time. But he's coached in Oklahoma City. He's coached in Orlando. He's been with the Toronto staff since 2018. He has had some off-the-court stuff that's maybe been in the news for not the right reasons. His ex-wife accused him of domestic violence and some social media posts back in 21. And he sued her for defamation. That's still ongoing, so that may be a bit of a challenge for. Oh, that's nice for his situation. But anyway, that's a potential concern with his availability. Dell Demps, and he's on the Jazz staff as an assistant. He used to be a Pelicans basketball executive for a long time, played for several years in the NBA. Demps was somebody who was selected by Snyder to be one of his assistants. And so and he's been in that role. And so he's got some experience there. So somebody who, besides Alex Jensen, currently on that staff, is somebody who they could be looking at to replace Quin Snyder. And Quin Snyder's going to be asked about these guys to see what he thinks about these potential candidates to replace him, and that could be one of them that's on the list. Somebody else, Will Hardy, he's currently with the Boston Celtics, and I think when you look at Danny Ainge and his connections to Boston and his experience, it's kind of natural, I think, to consider what his experience was and his connections are to the Boston Celtics. And besides that, I mean, why wouldn't you look at somebody who's on a roster or on a staff with a team that's currently in the NBA Finals? So Will Hardy he was with San Antonio. He's been a staffer on Team USA with also 2019 FIBA World Cup. He's only 34 years old, so he'd be one of the youngest head coaches in NBA history, but that is just another coach in that San Antonio pipeline that would be in the mix. And so that could be somebody else that the Jazz look at. Jerome Allen is one other that is being considered. Here's a guy that currently with the Pistons, and he's been an assistant coach there. He was an assistant coach under Brad Stevens in Boston, head coaching experience at the collegiate level at the University of Pennsylvania, but played a couple of years in the NBA, played internationally for a little while. So he's kind of an interesting history with this guy. Lived with 18 relatives in a 5-bedroom house in Philadelphia when he was growing up. He was also sanctioned by the NCAA, 15-year show cause penalty in 2020 that will likely prevent him from working in the college ranks. So interesting time there at Penn, but has some experience in the NBA and could be one of those candidates that they're looking at. And certainly the Brad Stevens and Boston Celtics and with that pipeline as well. It's got some connection. Kevin Young is another name that's being thrown around. He was currently an assistant for the Phoenix Suns, and he spent time with the Philadelphia 76ers, and he's been in the G League. In fact, he spent time with the Utah Flash, and was with former name, and they also spent time with the Iowa Energy, and so he's got some G League experience, certainly important in the developmental aspect of the NBA. But here's a guy who also has some local ties, born in Salt Lake, married in 2011 at the Salt Lake Temple. So certainly he's going to have a connection to Utah in that sense. He was a finalist for the Wizards head coaching job back in 2021, but moved up the Suns bench in the last year to be an associate coach. At 40 years old, he's young, also spent a year as an assistant at Utah Valley. So that's an intriguing choice. And then I think last and definitely least would be David Fizdale. Just got let go with the Lakers. Somebody who has had some head coaching experience, hasn't really worked out that well, but is known to be a guy that players certainly respond to and a good guy on the bench, but questionable about his head coaching experience and success. So kind of a long run through of those potential candidates for the Utah Jazz. And 1570, why isn't Mark Jackson a candidate? That's a really, really good question. Why wouldn't Mark Jackson be a candidate? He didn't really love his time in Utah, interestingly enough. All right, we're going to take another quick timeout here in the Full Court Press. When we come back, some other news around the world of sports. The Anaheim Angels with a questionable decision. Is it a questionable decision? Was it the only decision to be made? And what's going on in Cleveland, and just how bad is that decision looking even more so now with more accusations coming out against Deshaun Watson? That's coming up on the Full Court Press, along with the stat that blew my mind and my player of the week.
Don't crank up your AC unit before getting it serviced. Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning is the team you should call for quality on-time service. If your system needs replaced, think York. York has the best warranties in the business with affordable financing options. Call Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning at 752-7272 or stop by their showroom west of DI. Online at advancedheating-ac.com.
Comfortable until you are. Advanced Heating and Air.
Cache Valley Bank's newest branch is now open in Preston. I'm Lance Zollinger, and I'm excited to announce Cache Valley Bank is now open inside Stokes Marketplace. If you're an existing customer, you'll love the convenience. If you're not a customer, we'd love to have you open a new account with us, or even talk with us about a loan for your farm or business. Cache Valley Bank, a community bank where decisions are still made locally, now open in Preston. Cache Valley Bank, member FDIC.
Avoid the stress of renting a shampoo machine and cleaning that dirty upholstery yourself. This is Darryl with ChemDry of Northern Utah. ChemDry's hot carbonated extraction process will make any piece of furniture in your home look close to brand new again. Sofas, love seats, recliners, or even car seats. ChemDry of Northern Utah is happy to clean your carpets, but don't forget about making sure everything in your home is the cleanest, healthiest environment for your family.
ChemDry of Northern Utah. ChemDry of Northern Utah. 435-752-6100.
This is Jay from Daryl's Appliance. Your friends and neighbors know us for our large scratch and dent inventory. Now you do too. Save up to 40% on these appliances with minor cosmetic defects. This June, we're trying to clear them out to make room for more. Plus, you get Daryl's exclusive full 2-year extended warranty for free on scratch and dent appliances. That's at Daryl's, where service always comes first. Daryl's West on Airport Road.
See Daryl's Appliance in beautiful downtown Benson.
Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent with Alpine Home Medical. I'd like to invite you to learn more about us. Since 1997, we've been Utah's premier one-stop shop for home medical equipment. What sets us apart at Alpine Home Medical is the superior level of customer service. We provide home oxygen, CPAPs, wheelchairs, scooters, breast pumps, and so much more. Come on down and get to know us.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
Visit alpinehomemedical.com.
This is Dave Simmons for Les Olson Company. Every great team knows that you have to train to stay on top of your game. Even top players continue to practice the fundamentals. That's why Les Olson Company offers free IT security awareness training so your business can stop threats before they become a problem. Learn what to do in case of a suspected phishing attack. Don't take risks. Take action with the Les Olson Security Suite. Get your free network assessment at lesolson.com.
You've been putting up with a dirty, dusty wood stove for years. Why haven't you changed it? Go to Advanced Fireplace and Stove in Logan. Look through their showroom for ideas on Quadra-Fire pellet and wood stoves and Heat and Glow gas fireplaces. They have several demos in place so you can see firsthand how your project will look. And you can trust the pros at Advanced Fireplace and Stove. They'll do the job right. Advanced Fireplace and Stove. 752-7272. Online at advancedfireplaceandstove.com.
The Aggies, the Jazz, the high schools, the full court press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Sorry about our weird audio earlier. Well, we got to figure it out. We got our studios fixed. Real quickly, before we get into our next topic, just remind you about Napa Auto Parts, friends of the program. They got the items that you're looking for and the parts that you need and rely on every day, like golf cart batteries or lawnmower filters and oil. So they've got it in stock when you need it at 5 locally owned Preston and Providence Napa Auto Parts stores. Real quickly, just this note today from the Mountain West. They concluded their summer meetings today in Colorado Springs. Involved their directors of athletics. And one of the statements is that they've, according to a release, they've prioritized an absolute focus on the experience of Mountain West student athletes. And continuing, it says, this included a commitment to collaboration among all member institutions in the identification of innovative programs related to overall safety and well-being, mental health, academic success, life skills, professional development, and career mentoring. Really not a lot that they've really said other than they've got together and they're looking at things and they're trying to be aware of how things are changing. That's really the crux of what was discussed over 3 days. Today, if you missed it, the Angels fired Joe Maddon. And this was a team that was exciting. Like, oh my gosh, we might actually see the Angels play well this season, and we might get to see them in the playoffs. Angels were 10 games above 500 2 weeks ago, but since then they've lost 12 in a row. And so they let go of Joe Maddon, and Phil Nevin has been named as their interim manager. And so, it's too bad. Maddon says that he was surprised by the decision, but I don't know. I think that the Angels have to kind of get their arms around this quickly, and they've had too many years in obscurity and all that talent and not a lot to show for it. All right, in our final minute here, just want to share with you a stat that blew my mind. On Saturday, speaking of baseball, there were 6 different Major League Baseball teams that hit at least 5 home runs in a game. That was the Diamondbacks, the Cardinals, the Giants, the Nationals, Phillies, and Twins. That's only been done, and there's only been 4 teams that hit 5 or more homers in a game on the same day. That had never been done, where there were 4 teams, more than 4, to hit 5 or more homers in a game on the same day. So that's unique. And then my player, I got to get it to Sam Darnold. Or not Sam, Aaron. Aaron Donald. Aaron became the highest paid non-quarterback ever, signed a big fat contract with the Rams after many years of success. Go get that bag. Go get the money. So congratulations to Aaron Donald with his many years of success. And I guess Jaycee Carroll should be also mentioned as a player of the week, too.
I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. The PGA Tour is under a fair amount of stress right now. The game's most marketable player ever, Tiger, is only playing in the majors, and the LIV Tournament and the Saudi League are starting to make some noise. The new league has added new rules to spice up the game, and the league is offering an abundance of cash to participate. First event will be this weekend, featuring players like Dustin Johnson, Louis Oosthuizen, Sergio Garcia, and as of yesterday, Phil Mickelson. The 4 players are exceptional, but in the grand scheme of things, losing them won't mean a lot to the PGA Tour. That doesn't mean this isn't a big win for the new league. Players are obviously interested in competing and getting a lot of money. And if the first event does well, other players may continue to follow. And when you consider the potential for massive paydays, shorter tournaments, and an updated format, it might not be long until the Tour has to step up its game in order to keep up with more players jumping ship. I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise.